All right. I'm sorry that first video didn't stay on. It killed my connection. So I guess we'll start off with this one again. Imagine your child dying and you were giving eulogy explaining what your own child meant to you and how special your child was. And then someone grabs the mic and says, actually, all children are special. That's what All Lives Matter sounds like. Embarrassing. I disagree wholeheartedly. First of all, this denotes that it's about a dead person and the family of that dead person. No, this is a national issue. Second of all, it's not about the dead child analogy, or in this case, which it's not a child, it's George Floyd, pretending like that's the only person who died from this. These people aren't protesting the death of George Floyd, all right? He is just one of many deaths. They're protesting the fact that they have to be afraid because of their skin color. Meanwhile, poverty has more to do with it than anything else. However, I'm not going to pretend that racism doesn't exist because I have dealt with racism most of my life. I've been treated like shit because of the color of my skin. I've been beaten up for the color of my skin. I've been told to go to the back of the bus because of the color of my skin. Never been shot because of the color of my skin, though. However, the homeless are murdered at a much higher rate. Now, the other thing is, we're not talking about children being special. We're talking about whose lives matter. Black people are not going through even 1/10 of what the homeless have to go through. Unless, of course, they're homeless. If you are black and in prison or in jail, there is way more than a 50% chance that you were homeless when you were arrested. Were you arrested for being a criminal? Were you arrested for being black? Or were you being arrested because people don't want to see poverty? People don't want to see a homeless person with a backpack walking down the street any more than they want to see a black person walk a white neighborhood. What happens? What do we get to hear about all these black folks complaining about going through a white neighborhood? The cops stop them. They didn't do anything wrong, but they're being stopped nonetheless. And the cop is drilling them and being a dick nonetheless. But homeless people have to deal with that, many of them, on a daily basis. Now, another analogy, wanted to talk about, let me see if I got this one right. Actually, I happen to know this one's on my Facebook. So I'll go to my Facebook for that instead of Mandy's. There's a very specific one I want to show you because it's from a very specific race baiter. See, we'll hit that button and we'll hit Sean Schwartz. See what it says. All right. I want to make a couple of good points to you first. This one is something that I posted. It says, firing rubber bullets indiscriminately isn't de-escalation. Throwing tear gas and flashbangs isn't crowd control. Marching in phalanx dressed for war isn't keeping the peace. So let's be clear about your goal here, officers. You don't want peace, you want submission. Yeah, I shared that from Brian Adam Braswell. Here's another one. The Boston Tea Party was a historical moment that we were taught in school when people rioted and protested against tax on tea. Now people are doing the same over the murder of an unarmed black man, and suddenly it's unethical and un-American. Spot the difference? Yeah, it's not a or an unarmed black man. It's many unarmed black men. If you are black in the United States and you get pulled over, you keep your hands on the fucking wheel so that you don't get shot by the fucking cops. Oh, oh. This content isn't available right now. This content is not available. Well, here's it is. All right. This is another one of your analogies. My personal interpretation of Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter. Bob is sitting at the dinner table. Everyone else gets a plate of food except Bob. Bob says Bob deserves food. Everyone at the table responds with everyone deserves food and continues eating. Although everyone deserves food is a true statement, it does nothing to actually rectify the fact that Bob has no food. Another lady typed, "You better say it again." No, that's the best way to get me to block your ass, actually. Say it again. Fuck you. Read that again. Fuck you. You want to be condescending? We'll say fuck you. You want to type stuff condescending? I will say fuck you. And then I will be condescending back because that is fair and equal treatment. Now, when I was younger, I was not so much into fair and equal treatment. See, me getting beat up for the color of my skin, if I beat the shit out of you because you beat me up for the color of my skin, I'm not beating the shit out of you for the color of your skin. I'm beating the shit out of you because you're not keeping your nasty cock beaters to yourself. Now, there was a few kids when I was growing up that decided, well, they didn't like me because I was white. And when they got their ass kicked like the punk ass little bitches that they are, they wanted to bitch, whine, moan, and complain and pretend like I called them the N-word. Oh, yeah, that totally makes it okay. There are a lot of things that many people do that is just like that, that I don't get to do. I'm not a woman, so I can't accuse a woman of raping me or molesting me or stalking me and destroy their entire life. But a woman can do that to me. If I beat the shit out of a black man for calling me a honky, who's going to jail for the hate crime? Is it going to be the black man who called me a honky? Or is it going to be me for beating the fuck out of him? That's right, it's going to be me for beating the fuck out of him. So I'm not allowed to beat the fuck out of him. I just have to take the abuse. Meanwhile, there are a great many black folk, just like many white folk, who cannot go after the people that they're pissed off at. So they go after whoever's lower on the social ladder, and that is always the homeless. Always. Homeless people don't mean shit to any of you. Congratulations. Now, those of you who do give a shit about us are probably homeless. Now, read this here analogy. We'll finish it for you. This lady, Kelly Beal, typed, "Doing a screen cap and posting at him. This is the best explanation I've seen for Black Lives Matter." So I posted a goddamn reply. Maybe Bob shouldn't assume everyone else got a plate. Maybe black people shouldn't assume that this is only happening to black people. Because at this point, you're being a racist asshole by pretending that. By pretending that it's not happening to other people. Like it's not happening to other minorities or the homeless. That just makes you an asshole, no matter what color your skin is. Maybe Bob shouldn't assume everyone else got a plate, or that only Bobs don't get a plate. Maybe Bob ignoring the other 28 people going hungry and wanting everyone else to fight just for Bob to get a plate shows that Bob only cares about Bob. Maybe Bob should get together with the other 28 people who have no food and take the food that's fully theirs from the guy hoarding all the food and telling the 29 hungry people at the table it's for their safety and security, while picking out in front of them and puking it into a bucket to make more room to waste more in front of them. Then blame each person for being stolen from. There are literally more homeless killed by cops than minorities. And black folks ain't the only minorities being murdered. Try the Native Americans. While black protests get international attention, Native protests are rarely mentioned beyond local news, and even then, it might not make it off the reservation. You want to pretend that it's only happening to black people, and that is why I am against all of you. Whether you're red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, or fucking violet. Whether you are black or white or fucking invisible. I don't care. This is about ignoring it because it's not happening to you. Most of these black folks who are pissed off at white folks, they're pissed off because these things aren't happening to upper middle class white folks. And in many cases, it's not happening to poor white folks in houses, but it is happening way more often to white homeless people than it is to black people in houses. I want you to take a look at how many police interactions I've had over people's bad assumptions, over their slander, over crimes that they committed against me on multiple occasions. And the police wouldn't do a goddamn thing because I matter less than a black person. My life does not matter to Black Lives Matters. My life also doesn't matter to missing and murdered Indigenous women. That's a group, by the way. There are definitely Indigenous women in the United States who admit. I got plenty of friends that are black. That doesn't mean I know what it's like to be black. I do know what it's like to be beaten up for the color of my skin. I do know what it's like to be afraid of the police simply because I exist. Because of what happened to Natalie, and because of the illegal and immoral actions of police across the state of Colorado and Nebraska, yeah, I don't get the luxury of pretending that this shit don't happen to white people. I also don't get the luxury of Black Lives Matters giving a fuck about me. I don't have the luxury of the white people who show up to these Black Lives Matters places. I don't have them on my side. Meanwhile, what did I do to all these people? Nothing. How many of these hate crimes were perpetrated by me? Maybe we need to take these people and sit them all down and explain to them, hey, bitch, the people who are perpetrating these crimes have names. And I'm sorry if not all of my words came out right. I have 0 teeth. Now, there's another one from this racist asshole. There's a site called Holding Police Accountable, and it used to be ran by a guy who actually cared. And because all the threats and stuff against him and his family, he quit. He gave it to somebody else, who gave it to somebody else, who gave it to somebody else. And for long, it ends up into somebody who just hates. Now, let's see. What's the name of that group? Let me see. It might be here. Nope, it's definitely not here. And do you know why? Because that guy who got the group kicked me out of it. Fuck it, so goes life. There's a picture of Rick Sanchez. Holy shit. Is that you, you punk ass little bitch? Rick Sanchez. That's the name of a sexual predator in Boulder, Colorado. He also goes by Thor. He also goes by Derek Apodaca. Now, if this is the same Rick Sanchez, I'm not too happy to see him for obvious reasons. If it's a different Rick Sanchez, dude, I'm sorry you got the same name as that fuckhead. Then again, his real name isn't Sanchez. He uses that name because he's got a whole bunch of aliases because he's a child predator. Lovely. His real name is Derek Apodaca. Now, that guy that was in that group yesterday, oh, I think I did take a screenshot of that. That might be where I can find it. See, I'm real big on screenshots. It sucks that I have to erase screenshots to do this, but fuck it, so goes life, right? You just search Rick and Morty on Google. All right, well, if that's Rick's last name on Rick and Morty. I want to show you this one here. Those are 6 officers who are in trouble for abusing 2 black individuals in a vehicle for video recording their abuse. You notice something about that picture? I want you to tell me how many of the people in that picture, how many of those officers are white? You still want to pretend it's just a race issue. 5 of those 6 officers are black. I will not say African American because not all black people come from Africa. That's a stereotype and it's ignorant. Now, one of the dudes that I was arguing with on that site tried claiming that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., oh, Rick Sanchez. Yep, you are an asshat. How did I know that from the start? God damn. All right, so here's the picture. If you notice, there are actually 6 men in that picture with guns. The 3 on the left are black. The 3 on the right are white. Black people and white people working together. That's how it should be. Then again, the narrative that the guy who put the post up, not that guy was correcting the narrative. Rick Sanchez doesn't know how to spell Asperger's. Rick Sanchez, I'm going to type this word for you, and I want you to type it back. Aspergers. Matter of fact, we'll even put the apostrophe in there. Now, the narrative that I got to see, or the picture that I got to see that this guy posted up, was only of the two white guys on the right, claiming that it was the KKK and a bunch of bullshit like that. Well, looks like Rick Sanchez is an asshat. See, we'll see about requests. Let's see, is it unwanted commercial content or spam, pornography or sexually explicit material, child abuse, hate speech, graphic violence, harassing or bullying? This is harassing me. Report. Boom! Done. And then we can go to this part and put them in timeout. The thing that is the common denominator in nearly all of these analogies is the pretension that it's not happening to anyone else. No, don't look at the people over there being raped. I was raped. I was raped. I was raped. I was raped. Just look at me. Just look at me. No, don't listen to her. Don't listen to her. Don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. Yes, that's a white girl that was raped. No, I'm black. Black lives are what matters. That Hispanic girl got raped. No, don't listen to her. Stop listening to her. Listen to me. Black. And then you got all these other people, white people even, going, hey, you need to stop focusing about you. You need to stop being selfish. All right? You need to stop being selfish. This is about what's happening to black people. Stop! It's not just happening to black people. Oh, here's Rick Sanchez. I'm going to have to take a picture of this. That's how bad this ass hat is. Literally made another profile to harass me. Lovely. Meanwhile, I'm going to let you see what it is he typed. Rick Sanchez, you ain't man enough to whoop my ass. Come to Nebraska. Come to Nebraska, coward. I'm only 2 miles across the Colorado border, coward. Not even one of the other cowards bothered to show up. Even when they invited me to come see them in person, they didn't show up. You're a fucking coward. I'm not going to pretend like this shit isn't happening to Mexican people. I'm not going to pretend that this isn't happening to Native Americans. I'm not going to pretend that this isn't happening to homeless people. Just because you want to ignore all of these crimes unless they happen to a black person. You notice this fella over here. He's typing racist shit, making threats, claiming he's apologizing. Obviously, that's bullshit. He wants my phone number, which Obviously, I'm not going to give it to him. This town is a quarter of a mile tall, north to south, and a grand total of 1 mile east to west. You can walk into any business in this town and ask about Sean Schwartz. They can probably point you to where I'm at. Do you want me to say sorry to you, you fucking coward? No, come here and play. Now, this right here, this is what I had to deal with the entire time with the Natalie situation. Every time I tried to approach it as an adult, I had to deal with fucking cowards like this. But the other issue is that it wasn't just on the internet. If it was just on the internet, it wouldn't have been a fucking problem. If it had been just harassment on the internet, it wouldn't have been a problem. Do you know why that is? Because I would have still been able to go see my loved ones. I can't go see my loved ones. Haven't been able to go see my loved ones in over 3 years without fear of being abused. Why? Because of slander by junkies. But those junkies are pretty, so they win, right? Derek Apodaca. You can call me all the names you want. Until you are man enough to come up here to Chapel, Nebraska and talk to me like a human being, you can suck the shit out of my asshole. Now, the first time that you decided to assault me, I was kind. Do you know why I was kind? Because if I had defended myself, I'd have gone to jail. Here in Nebraska, I can beat you piss fucking limber. The laws are different here. If you want to put your nasty cock beaters on me, then yes, I can beat you piss limber. They will have to clean you off of the cement with a sponge and a fucking bucket. Do you know why I'm willing to fight back here where I can't in Colorado? It's called assault by mutual combat. Down with going to jail for doing shit back to people. I am totally down. You want to threaten my life? I don't mind going to jail for threatening you back. You fucking coward. You want to put your nasty cock beaters on me? Well, it's okay for me to put my nasty cock beaters back on you here. See, here, at least with that fighting thing, I can get what I want. I can defend myself. And there are mutual consequences. Something you'll never find in Colorado. In Colorado, they don't even care about fucking evidence. It don't make a goddamn bit of difference. They'll just railroad you anyway. You know, I had a friend of mine named Dino a few years back. There was a girl named Haley Smith. This is at Pierre Byron's house in Colorado. Now, here's the thing. Pierre had a bunch of minors over at his house drinking while his parents were out of town. Haley Smith was one of those drunks. Her boyfriend, Brian Farmer, and a guy named Jared Wallace were both stabbed to death because she wanted to antagonize Dino and not let him leave. And when 3 guys surrounded the vehicle and were trying to pull him out, according to Pierre, that's when Dino stabbed them. Goddamn right he did. Now, where's Dino sitting? He's sitting in prison for multiple counts of murder. The thing is that we are not going to change this by ignoring the problems. Black Lives Matter. Well, I'm sorry, but you have too small of a group. Your population is too small. Too small. But your population is still at least 3 times what the homeless population is. Also, nobody gives a fuck about the homeless. Lots of people give a fuck about black people. So if it happens to a black person, it's wrong. If it happens to a homeless person, it's okay. If it happens to a white person, we're supposed to turn a blind eye because he's not black? If it happens to a Native American, am I supposed to turn a blind eye because they're not black? That's fucking insane. Meanwhile, the things that black people are bitching about, they're not the only people it's happening to. You want to pretend that it's only happening to black people. That's like female rape victims pretending that men have never had to go through that. Here's Rick Sanchez with more of his racist bullshit. We'll post this up here. We'll take some more pictures of this punk-ass little bitch. Will the police take a look at it? No, they don't give a fuck. But I've had to deal with this for years now. 3 years worth of this shit. Now there's other analogies. I think there was probably 5 or 6 analogies altogether, and all of them pretty much the same. All of them in that analogy. The analogy trying to claim that it's only happening to that one person. Like that one about Bob. It's only happening to the Bobs. Only Bobs have this issue. That's bullshit. Selena, not afraid, was murdered by exposure, the same way that Brian Gray was murdered by Boulder Police Department. Why was Brian Gray murdered by the Boulder Police Department? Did they have motive? Fuck yes. Of course they had motive. He was a witness to multiple assaults by police against homeless people. Selena, not afraid, that was not the first time that she had to deal with that. That wasn't the first time her family had to deal with that. Selena, not afraid, just like Alicia Bollinger, had a twin sister who committed suicide. Selena, not afraid, was 16 years old when she died. Her twin sister was 11 years old when she committed suicide. Selena, not afraid, also had a sister who was at the airport who was ran over by a hit-and-run driver. Now, that very same girl in Selena, not afraid's situation where Selena died was also there when her sister died. And in both cases, she magically couldn't remember anything. Imagine that. So you guys really mean to tell me that if these things happen to other people, you're just going to ignore it? You're going to tell me to ignore it? You're going to tell the families of these people to ignore it? Is that what you're going to do? Are you going to pretend that these things that the police are doing to black people, they're not doing to anyone else? Is that really what you want to pretend? In all of those analogies, every one of them, those analogies paint a very unrealistic picture because they all pretend that these things are only happening to black people. And that's fucking bullshit. We all know it. Black people know it. White people know it. Rich people know it. Poor people know it. Everybody fucking knows it. So Why does the government not step in and do something about the homeless? Well, because you guys need a scapegoat. The government cronies who are doing this fucked up shit to you, you can't go after them. You have to have another option, another outlet for your hatred. If you didn't have the homeless to go after, you'd go after the son of a bitches who actually did it to you. If you didn't have the homeless to treat like a bunch of rapists, you might actually go after your dad for raping you. Fuck you, Rick Sanchez. You're a goddamn coward.